The rain tapped softly on the glass windows of the big white mansion. Inside, everything was quiet, clean, and cold. But in one small room, warm laughter could be heard. Maria, a black maid in her late 30s, sat on the floor with a little girl in her lap. The girl's name was Emily. She was 5 years old, with long golden hair and wide blue eyes. But what made Emily special wasn't her looks. It was her silence. Emily had not spoken a word when Maria first met her. Maria had arrived at the Donovan mansion 2 years ago. The billionaire, Mr. Donovan, had hired her through an agency. He was always traveling for business and needed someone to take care of his daughter while he was away. He didn't care much who did it. He just wanted someone reliable. Maria was quiet, kind, and did her work well. She never asked questions. She cleaned, cooked, and most importantly, she took care of Emily. When she first met the little girl, Maria had noticed something was wrong. Emily never smiled. She never laughed. She didn't talk. She just sat by the window all day, holding an old teddy bear and looking out at the garden. "Does she speak?" Maria had asked one of the other maids. No. The maid replied, she stopped speaking after her mother died. That night, Maria sat by Emily's bed. She didn't say much, just hummed a lullaby from her own childhood. Emily didn't react. But the next night, Maria did it again. And again, after 1 week, Maria noticed something new. Emily had moved her fingers to the tune of the lullaby. After 1 month, she smiled. And after 3 months, she whispered her first word in years, "Mama." Maria's heart nearly stopped. She turned around, her eyes full of tears. "I'm not your mama, sweet girl," she said softly, "but I will stay with you, I promise." Since that night, everything began to change. Maria would tell her stories every evening. She showed Emily how to bake cookies, plant flowers, and braid her hair. They painted together, laughed together, and even cried together. The other staff noticed Tumali was speaking again, laughing again, living again. Mr. Donovan never visited. He sent money, gifts, but never came home. He didn't even call. For him, Emily was just one more responsibility to handle. But for Maria, Emily had become everything. No one knew Maria's past. No one knew she had once been a mother to. Her own daughter, Hope, had died in a hospital fire when she was only 6. That pain never left Maria's heart. She had buried her sorrow deep and never talked about it. But the day Emily called her mama, something inside her healed Demoria was still a maid. Yes, but she was also more than that. She was Emily's best friend, her comfort, her family. One Sunday evening, they were sitting together in the living room. Maria had just braided Emily's hair into 2 perfect plaits. "Do you think my real mommy is watching from the sky?" Emily asked quietly. Maria paused. She held Emily's tiny hands. "Yes, baby. And I think she's very proud of you." Emily nodded. "Do you think she's proud that I love you too?" Maria blinked back tears. "I hope so," she whispered. Suddenly, a loud noise came from the front of the mansion. The heavy wooden door creaked open. Footsteps echoed in the marble hallway. The staff looked at each other in shock. No one was expected. No message had come. And then, the voice. "Where is my daughter?" Maria stood up slowly. Her heart thud. Dead. Emily's single quotes eyes widened. "Who's that?" Maria held her hand. "That's your father." Mr. Donovan stepped into the room, tall and sharp in a black coat. His eyes scanned the room and froze on the sight of Maria and his daughter holding hands. "What's going on here?" he asked coldly. No one answered. Emily stepped back behind Maria. Hiding her face in the maid's skirt, Mr. Donovan raised an eyebrow. Emily didn't answer. She held Maria tighter. Mr. Donovan's voice grew colder. Why is my daughter afraid of me? Maria opened her mouth, then closed it. She didn't know what to say. One of the other maids came forward. Sir, your daughter. Oh, she's changed a lot. She's happy now. Happy. Mr. Donovan scoffed. 'Cause of a maid. He turned to Maria. Pack your things. You're done here. Emily cried out. No, everyone froze. That was the first time she had raised her voice in front of her father. I don't want her to go, Emily screamed. She's my mommy. Maria stood still, eyes wide. Mr. Donovan stared, silent and stunned in one moment. Everything had changed. The whole mansion fell into a heavy silence. No one dared to move. Emily's small voice still echoed in the air. She's my mommy. Mr. Donovan stood frozen near the doorway. His eyes moved slowly from his daughter to the black maid, holding her protectively. For years, he'd imagined this homecoming, but not like this. He thought his daughter would run into his arms. Instead, she ran behind a maid. Emily, he said, his voice suddenly softer. Do you remember me? The girl didn't answer. Her small hands clutched Maria's skirt even tighter. Maria could feel Emily's tiny fingers trembling. Her own heart was beating fast too, but she stayed calm on the outside. She gently bent down and whispered in Emily's ear. It's all right, sweetheart. I'm here. Mr. Donovan stepped forward. I came home to see my daughter. And this is what I find afraid of me, calling a maid mommy. His words cut through the room like a knife. One of the butlers quietly stepped away. The cook disappeared into the kitchen. Only Maria remained standing in the living room with Emily hiding behind her. Maria took a slow breath. She didn't mean any harm, sir, she said softly. She's just been needing someone. Mr. Donovan's eyes narrowed. You think that someone is you? I never planned it, Maria replied, keeping her voice steady. I was only here to take care of her. But she chose to love me. I never asked her to. He looked at his daughter again. Emily, he said, firmly, come here, now. Emily didn't move. Mr. Donovan stepped closer. Maria instinctively stepped between them. That was the moment everything shifted. For years, no one had ever stood up to the billionaire. He was feared in every business room, every courtroom. He spoke. And people listened. But this maid, this quiet woman stood between him and his daughter without fear. His jaw clenched. You're fired. I understand, Maria said, lowering her eyes. Emily screamed, no. Please don't take her away. Mr. Donovan paused, his anger shaking, unsure how to react. I'm your father, he said to Emily. You can't just replace me. Tears welled up in Emily's eyes. But where were you? I waited. I drew pictures. I sent letters. You never came. Maria turned away, heart aching at the pain in the girl's voice. Mr. Donovan looked around awkwardly. I was busy building a future for her. For us, she wouldn't understand. No, Maria whispered under her breath. She understands more than you think. He looked at her sharply. What did you just say? Maria turned to face him, calm and respectful, I said. She's a smart little girl. And she waited for you. Every birthday, every holiday. She waited at the window. Mr. Donovan looked toward the tall glass window with guilt in his eyes. He remembered his assistant's voice over the years, telling him, your daughter Maid. Another drawing for you today, sir, and him replying, just file it. I'll look later. But he never did. He had missed 5 years of his daughter's life. He didn't even know her favorite color. And now, here was a maid who knew it all, knew her songs, her fears, her bedtime rituals, and most of all, pack your things. Mr. Donovan repeated, voice lower. I want you out by morning. Maria nodded, her eyes wet but proud. Yes, sir. That night, the mansion was unusually quiet. Maria packed her small suitcase in the servants' quarters. She didn't own much, just a few dresses, some old photos, and a small music box she always kept with her. It had been her daughter's favorite. Emily refused to eat dinner. She sat at the table with her head down, arms folded. "She's punishing me," Mr. Donovan muttered to himself. He picked up one of the drawings left on the side table. It showed a stick-figure girl holding hands with a taller woman. Written in clumsy handwriting at the bottom, "Me and Mommy Maria at the park." His hand tightened on the paper. He never even knew they went to the park. Later that night, Maria tiptoed into Emily's room for the last time. The little girl was already awake, waiting in bed. "You're really leaving?" she whispered. Maria nodded, sitting beside her. "I don't want you to go," Emily said, beginning to cry. "I don't want to either," Maria whispered. "But this is your house. Your father loves you in his own way. He just doesn't know how to show it yet. Will you come back?" Maria paused. "If I'm ever needed, I'll come back." Emily reached under her pillow and pulled out a folded note. "Give this to him, please." Maria took the note gently and kissed her forehead one last time. "I love you, little star." Then she left the room, holding back tears. Downstairs, Mr. Donovan stood near the front door. He wasn't used to feeling nervous. But now he waited awkwardly for the maid he had just fired. Maria walked down slowly, suitcase in one hand, envelope in the other. "This is from Emily," she said quietly, handing it over. He took it silently. "Goodbye, sir." She turned and walked out into the night. The door closed behind her. Mr. Donovan stared at the envelope. In his hand, he opened it with shaking fingers. Inside was a simple drawing. A little girl, standing between a man and a woman, all three holding hands. Underneath it said, "I wish this was real." He sat down slowly, for the first time feeling the weight of what he had truly lost. The night was cold. Maria walked down the empty street outside the mansion, carrying her old suitcase. She didn't have a car, and no one offered a ride. The moon followed her steps, but even the stars looked silent, like they were watching something unfair happen again. Her shoes made soft sounds on the wet pavement, but her mind was louder, full of memories, painful ones. Inside the suitcase, hidden between her folded clothes, was a small picture burned around the edges, old and fading. It showed Maria with her real daughter, Hope. Both were smiling. Hope had little braids and a gap in her teeth. Maria had never shown the photo to anyone in the mansion. Not even Emily. She had never told anyone that she used to be a mother too. Years ago, she had a life filled with laughter, lullabies, and bedtime kisses. She worked too. Jobs to pay for her daughter's school. They didn't have much, but they had each other. Then came the fire. A hospital fire. She was 5 minutes late, picking up Hope from her checkup appointment. By the time she reached, thick smoke filled the building. People screamed. Sirens wailed. She ran in, pushing past guards, calling her baby's name. But it was too late. Hope didn't make it out. That day, something inside Maria broke. She never fully recovered. Her husband left, unable to face the sadness. Her family blamed her for being late. She lost her home, her job, her reason to wake up every day. But she didn't give up. She moved city to city, working quietly, hiding her pain. She told herself she didn't deserve to be a mother again. That was a gift she lost forever. Until she met Emily back in the mansion, Mr. Donovan sat in his study. The room was filled with expensive things, rare books, golden pens, imported whiskey. But none of it gave him peace. Emily was asleep, but not after crying herself to bed. The drawing she made still sat in front of him. I wish this was real. He had read those 6 words over 100 times. They hit harder than any business failure. He had always believed money could fix anything, by comfort, by silence, by loyalty, but he couldn't by his daughter's love. He stared at the picture. The little girl in the middle, a man on one side, a woman on the other, all holding hands. Family. And he wasn't in that picture. That's when he opened his laptop and searched for Maria's file in his employee records. She had no criminal history, no complaints, just a quiet woman with a calm smile and a strong work ethic. But the file didn't say anything about her past, so he called his private investigator. "I need everything you can find on Maria Brooks," he said. The man replied, "Tonight, sir." The next morning, Maria sat at a cheap hotel near the bus station. She hadn't slept much. She kept thinking of Emily's face, how it crumbled when she said goodbye. Maria opened her suitcase to check on her photo of Hope, but something else caught her eye. A pink hair ribbon. Emily's ribbon. She held it to her chest and closed. Her eyes, tears came. She had already lost one daughter. Now it felt like she lost 2. Suddenly, her phone rang. It was an unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something in her heart told her to. "Hello, Maria Brooks," said a calm voice. "Yes, this is Richard Donovan, Emily's father." She stood up straight. "What do you want, sir?" "I want to talk. I've said all I needed to." "Please," he said. "Just 5 minutes, not as your employer, but as a father who finally saw the truth too late." There was a long pause. Then Maria said, "I'll meet you, but not at the mansion." An hour later, they sat at a quiet park bench under a big tree. Maria had her coat wrapped tight. Donovan wore a dark suit, still too formal for a park. For a few minutes, neither spoke. Then Donovan finally said, "I know about your daughter." Maria froze. "I had someone look into your past, not to hurt you, just to understand why. Why Emily calls you Mommy." Maria looked away. "I read about the fire," he continued. "I saw your daughter's photo. Her name was Hope, wasn't it?" Maria nodded slowly, her eyes filling up. "I'm sorry," Donovan said, voice lower now. "For everything." Maria whispered, "I wasn't trying to replace her. I was just trying to love again." "I understand," he replied, "because now I know what losing feels like." He took out something from his pocket. Was Emily's drawing. "She thinks of you as family. And to be honest, she's right. You gave her something I couldn't. Time, care, love." Maria wiped her eyes. "I wasn't supposed to get attached. But she chose me." Donovan looked down. "I failed as a father. I left her to chase money. I thought she'd be fine as long as she had everything, but she had nothing except you." He looked up again. "I want to fix this." Maria frowned. "Slightly, how? I don't know yet. But if you'll let me, I want you to come back. Not as a maid, but as someone Emily needs." Maria's voice broke. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying I need your help to become the father she deserves." Maria stood frozen on the park bench. The wind blew softly around her coat, but her hands felt warm, holding tightly to Emily's ribbon in her pocket. Across from her sat Richard Donovan. Same man who had once looked at her like she was nothing more than a cleaner, now speaking like a man who had lost everything and wanted one last chance to fix it. His voice trembled slightly, something Maria never expected from a billionaire. "I need your help to become the father she deserves," he had said. Maria looked at him for a long moment. Her eyes weren't angry, just tired. Tired from years of pain. Tired from hiding her heart. "Do you mean that?" she asked softly. "I do," Donovan replied. "Because if you're saying this just to bring me back as a nanny again, I'm not." He cut in quickly. "I don't want you as a maid. I want you as family, if that's what Emily needs." Those words took her by surprise. She blinked slowly, unsure how to respond. "I'm not asking to share your bond with her," he continued. "I just want a chance to build my own. She deserves both of us, not one." Maria slowly nodded. "I'll come back, but not for you, Mr. Donovan. For Emily. That's all I ask," he whispered. Later that evening, as the mansion gates opened, the staff gasped. Maria stepped out. Of a black car, no suitcase. Just holding a small box, Emily stood frozen at the top of the stairs. Her little mouth open, her eyes wide. She ran fast. "Mommy, Maria." Maria bent down with open arms, catching her in a tight hug. "I told you I'd come back," Maria whispered. "Emily?" Cried in her arms loud, joyful, and full of relief. From a distance, Mr. Donovan stood by the door, watching. Not as a master of the house, but as a man hoping to be forgiven. But not everyone was happy about. Maria's return, 2 days later, Donovan's lawyer, Mr. Kent, walked into the mansion with a heavy folder and a face full of concern. "Sir," he said quietly in Donovan's office, "you're walking into a legal storm." Donovan looked up. "Why? You brought your former maid back. She's now living under the same roof, and the child refers to her as Mommy. If your ex-wife's family finds out, or if anything goes wrong, there could be a custody case filed against you. Her mother is dead." "Yes, but her mother's parents are still alive and rich. They always disliked you. They could claim you're mentally unfit to raise Emily, especially after abandoning her for 5 years. Oh, Donovan clenched his jaw. "So what do you suggest?" Mr. Kent hesitated. "You need legal guardianship agreements. You need to define Maria's role." Donovan leaned back. "You mean I have to fight? For my own daughter, or protect her? Before someone else tries to take her?" Donovan nodded slowly. And that night, a paper was drawn up. A legal proposal. Maria stood in the garden with Emily, planting yellow flowers, when Donovan approached her with the papers. "I need to talk to you," he said. Emily looked up. "Daddy, can we do it later? We're planting sunflowers." Donovan smiled at her, of course, pumpkin. Maria followed him to the side quietly. He handed her the folder. "This is not to scare you. It's to protect Emily. I spoke to my lawyer. There's a chance someone could challenge our situation, your return, your bond with Emily. So I want to make it official." Maria opened the file. Inside were documents naming her as Emily's co-guardian, giving her the legal right to care, for Emily to make decisions for her and even live with her. Maria's hands shook. "Why are you doing this?" "'Cause I trust you," he said simply. "And because Emily needs the woman who taught her how to smile again." Maria looked up at him, her eyes filled with something she hadn't shown him before. Respect. But the battle was just beginning. The next morning, a large black car arrived at the mansion. Out stepped a tall, cold woman, Madeline Grayson, Emily's maternal grandmother. She walked in like she owned the place. "Where is my granddaughter?" she demanded. Donovan met her in the hallway. "You can't just walk in here. She's my blood," Madeline snapped, "and I heard you've allowed a servant to play mother to her." Maria appeared quietly behind Donovan, holding Emily's hand. Madeline gasped. "That woman." Emily hid behind Maria. "She's not a servant," Donovan said firmly, stepping between them. "She's Emily's guardian now. By law, you've gone mad," Madeline hissed. "You think you can just give my granddaughter to a maid?" Maria spoke calmly. "I didn't ask for this. I only gave her love when no one else did." Madeline's eyes narrowed. "I will see you in court." She turned and stormed out. Donovan looked at Maria. Maria looked at Emily. Emily looked scared. "Will she take me away?" she whispered. Maria knelt down. "No one's taking you anywhere, sweetheart. Not while I'm here." The following days at the mansion were tense. Madeline, Grayson's threat to take Emily through the courts hung over the house like a dark cloud. The once joyful laughter of the little girl now sounded quieter. Even her drawings no longer had bright colors. She didn't understand the legal words, but she knew one thing. Someone wanted to take her away from Mommy Maria. Maria stayed strong on the outside, but inside her heart twisted. She had already lost a daughter once. She couldn't go through it again, not this time. Not with Emily. Mr. Donovan called lawyers. He met with social workers. He canceled business trips, something he had never done before. For the first time in years, he was fully present. But the more he tried to fix things, the more Emily pulled away from him. She didn't know how to trust a man who had disappeared for so long and now wanted to be her father again. One evening, Emily had a nightmare. She screamed in her sleep, "Don't take me away. Mommy, help." Maria rushed in, wrapping her arms around the crying girl. Emily buried her face in her chest, shaking. Mr. Donovan stood frozen at the door, watching. He wanted to help, but didn't know how. "I don't want to go with the scary lady," Emily whispered, clinging to Maria's neck. "You won't," Maria whispered back, her voice like warm honey. "I promise, no one will take you." But she wasn't sure if her promise could hold in court. The next morning, Donovan did something unexpected. He knocked on Maria's door. She opened it, surprised to see him without his usual business suit. Instead, he wore a plain sweater and held a tray of breakfast in his hands, toast eggs and hot tea. "Peace offering," he said quietly. Maria allowed a small smile and stepped aside to let him in. He set the tray down and sighed. "I'm trying, but she won't let me close." Maria looked at him with soft eyes. "She doesn't hate you, she's just scared." "I left her for years," he said, eyes down. "Oh, I'm asking her to trust me overnight." "It doesn't work like that." Maria nodded. "She forgives easily, but her heart is small. When it breaks, it takes time to heal." He sat down slowly. "What would you do?" "If I lost her in court," Maria looked at him directly, "I would go wherever she goes." His eyes widened slightly. "Even if that means leaving this house?" "I've already left once," she said. "I can do it again, but I won't leave her." Donovan looked at the woman in front of him, strong, loyal, fearless. The kind of person he wished he had been all along. "I'm going to fix this," he said. "It's not just for Emily, for both of you." A week later, the court hearing began. Donovan stood in front of the judge with his lawyers. Across from him, Madeline Grayson sat tall and proud, her silver hair tied tight, her lips pressed thin. She spoke with confidence, painting Maria as nothing more than a poor maid who had overstepped her role. She accused Donovan of emotional neglect, of allowing a stranger to act as Emily's mother. Then Maria was called to the stand. She walked calmly to the front of the courtroom. She wore a plain dress, no makeup, no fancy jewelry, just truth in her heart. The judge asked, "Why did you stay with Emily all these years?" Maria answered, "Because no one else did." "Did you want to replace her real mother?" Maria shook her head. "No, I just didn't want her to grow up feeling unwanted." The courtroom was silent. Then Emily was brought in. The little girl held a stuffed bunny in her hands. She looked around nervously, then saw Maria and smiled. "Do you know why you're here, sweetheart?" the judge asked kindly. Emily nodded slowly. "They want to take me away from my mommy." "Who is your mommy?" She pointed at Maria without hesitation. "Her and your father." She looked at Mr. Donovan and hesitated, then said, "He's trying." Everyone in the courtroom went. Still, Madeline's face turned pale. Donovan's eyes filled with tears. The judge cleared his throat. "And who do you want to live with?" Emily said softly, "Both. But only if Mommy Maria is there too." That night, back at the mansion, a letter arrived from the court. The judge had made a final decision. Emily would stay with her father, but only under one condition. Maria must remain her co-guardian until the child was old enough to choose for herself. Donovan read the letter twice before knocking on Maria's door. Again, she opened it. He handed her the paper. She read it, then looked at him. "No tricks?" she asked. He smiled faintly. "No tricks, just truth." Maria stepped out and looked over at Emily, who stood in the hallway holding 2 drawings. She ran over and handed one to Maria, one to Donovan. The first drawing showed Maria and Emily under a tree, reading a book. The second showed all 3 of them, holding hands. At the top was one word, written in a child's handwriting. Together. The mansion was quiet that night. Not cold, not heavy, but calm. For the first time in weeks, Emily slept peacefully, her bunny in one arm and Maria's scarf in the other. The court had spoken, and the fear of being taken away was finally over. But Maria Kone couldn't sleep. She sat on the edge of her small bed in the guest room, looking out the window. The stars looked clearer tonight, brighter, as if the universe had heard the little girl's wish. Still, Maria felt unsure. She had been a mother once, lost everything. Then fate placed another child in her arms. And now that child had called her mommy in front of a courtroom full of strangers. Her heart should have been full, so why did it still feel fragile? Down the hallway, Mr. Donovan stood outside her door. He hesitated for a long moment, then gently knocked. "Come in," Maria said, without turning. He stepped inside, holding a mug of warm milk. "Can't sleep?" Maria smiled softly. "Not tonight." He handed her the mug. "You did something I couldn't. You protected her heart." Maria didn't respond. She just held the mug and looked down into it. "I know what you're thinking," Donovan said after a pause. She looked at him. "You're wondering if this is really over? Something else will happen. If Emily will be taken again somehow." Maria gave a slow nod. "I've lost once before. I don't know if I can survive that again." Donovan pulled a folded paper from his pocket. "I wasn't sure if I should show you this yet, but I think now's the time." Maria took it, unfolded it, and read silently. Her hands began to shake. It was a legal document, something simple, yet powerful. It named her as Emily's permanent co-guardian, even beyond his own will. "If anything ever happens to me," Donovan said, "you will still have full custody. No court, no questions, just you and her." Maria's eyes filled with tears. "Why?" "Because she already sees you as her mother. I finally see what she saw all along." The next morning, the mansion smelled of pancakes. Maria was in the kitchen, flipping pancakes while Emily sat on the counter, swinging her legs. "I want chocolate chips in mine." Emily giggled. "You always do," Maria replied with a smile, flicking a bit of batter playfully on Emily's nose. Donovan walked in, surprised to see laughter in the house again. He hadn't realized how much he'd missed it. After breakfast, Emily ran to get dressed for a school trip. The house buzzed with energy again. Maria wiped the counter as Donovan leaned near. "I want to ask you something," he said. Maria raised an eyebrow. "Another paper to sign?" He chuckled. "No. This time, no lawyers." She waited. "I was thinking," he continued, "maybe we should move, start fresh, somewhere quieter. Maybe somewhere by the ocean, where Emily can have open skies and we don't have to live with old shadows." Maria paused. "Together," he nodded. "If you want." She looked down at her hands. "You're asking me to build a family again? After everything?" "I'm not asking you to forget your past," he said gently. I'm asking you to believe in your future." Maria looked up into his eyes and, for the first time, she didn't see a cold billionaire. She saw a man who had been broken and rebuilt, just like her. Later that afternoon, Maria stepped into her room to begin packing. Not to leave, but to move forward. She pulled out her small music box, the one she always kept safe. It had been Hope's. She opened it gently, and a soft melody played once more. She placed it on the dresser beside a new photo one Emily had drawn just this morning. It showed a house by the sea. 3 stick figures stood in front: a little girl, a tall man, a woman with braids. Above them, in a colorful rainbow of letters, were the words, "My Real Family." Maria smiled. Not the kind of smile that fades, but the kind that grows roots. That evening, as the sun dipped low and painted the sky orange, Emily stood between Maria and Mr. Donovan. "Can I say something?" Emily asked. They both looked down. She took their hands. "You both saved me," she said. "But also, you saved each other." Maria blinked fast, her throat tight. Donovan's lips trembled. And then, without planning it, the 3 of them embraced. No papers, no courtrooms, no guilt, just love, real, pure, unbreakable. And in that moment, Maria knew she was no longer just a maid. She was home. 6 months later, the mansion was empty now. Not broken, not abandoned, just quiet. The kind of quiet that follows after a goodbye full of peace. Maria stood in the middle of the grand living room where she had once mopped floors in silence, where she had once been seen as invisible. Now, she looked around with new eyes. She was no longer the maid. She was the woman who helped heal a little girl's broken heart, and the woman who helped a billionaire become a real father. Boxers were stacked neatly by the door. Paintings had been removed from the walls. Toys were packed. Clothes folded. Photos stored. Everything was ready for a new beginning. Outside, a black SUV waited in the driveway. Emily ran around it, chasing bubbles. Her laughter filled the air like music. Maria watched from the steps, holding a small photo frame in her hand. It was a drawing, Emily's latest one. It showed 3 smiling faces and a dog under a big sun with the words, "Our new home by the sea." The drawing made Maria's heart feel full and fragile at the same time. She looked up at the sky, whispering to someone long gone, "We made it, Hope. I didn't forget you." But I finally found joy again. Mr. Donovan stepped beside her. He wasn't in a suit today, just jeans, a white shirt, and that rare, gentle smile he had learned to wear more often. "You ready?" he asked. Maria nodded. "As I'll ever be." The car doors opened. They climbed in. Maria sat in the back with Emily, who leaned her head on her shoulder, holding her bunny with one hand and Maria's fingers with the other. As the car pulled away, the mansion grew smaller in the rearview mirror, but none of them looked back. They arrived at a quiet seaside town 3 hours later. Blue skies stretched over endless waves. The breeze smelled of salt and fresh promise. The new house wasn't a mansion. It was a warm, 2-story home with white walls and blue window shutters. A little garden waited to be filled. There were no servants, no guards, no marble floors, just space, just peace, just love. Emily ran straight to the porch, calling out, "This is mine. My room's upstairs." Maria followed her inside, laughing. Donovan stayed behind for a moment, standing under the sky. He looked at the house. He used to think power came from big buildings, expensive deals, and titles. But now he understood. Real power was in healing, in love, in second chances. That night, they had dinner on the porch under fairy lights. Nothing fancy, just pasta, juice, and chocolate cake. Emily talked non-stop about painting seashells, growing sunflowers, and going to school with new friends. Maria listened with a soft smile, her hand resting on Donovan's arm, once something she never imagined herself doing months ago. After dinner, Emily ran inside to get her pajamas. Donovan looked at Maria. "I have something for you." He reached into his pocket and handed her a small, wrapped box. She opened it slowly. Inside was a gold necklace with a single word carved into the pendant: Hope. Maria stared at it, speechless. "I know she'll always be part of you," he said gently. "And now, wherever we go, she'll be part of this family too." Maria's eyes filled. She touched the necklace and whispered, "Thank you." No more words were needed. Later, after putting Emily to bed, Maria stepped outside to the beach behind the house. She walked barefoot on the soft sand. The waves kissed her feet gently. She looked up at the stars, and for the first time in a long time, she felt whole in the house. Emily stirred in bed and whispered, "Daddy." Donovan walked in quietly. "Yes, sweetheart." She smiled sleepily. "Can I call her my real mom now? Forever." He sat on the edge of her bed, brushed her hair back, and said, "You already have, sweetheart. You already have." Months later, a family photo sat on the manned ELPIECE. Three people, arms wrapped around each other. No titles, no bloodline. No job roles, just love, just healing, just home.